Welcome to Fireside Chat. My name is Sai. So how do I pick the right location to retire early? Let's say you have achieved financial independence and you're looking for a new place to retire somewhere in the United States. What are some of the considerations you should have before you pick a place to retire? Let me know in the comment section below if you want me to make a video about retirement locations outside the US. Choosing a retirement location will also depend on your fire number and the type of fire you achieved. Watch until the end of this video and I'll share some of the places we want to live when we retire early. Your lean fire could give you anywhere around $40,000 a year. Your traditional fire number could be anywhere between $50,000 and $90,000 a year. Your fat fire number should be at least $100,000 a year. So if you're looking to retire in a high cost of living area like a major metropolitan city, you might need higher passive income to retire. If you're just doing this lean fire, then you might need to pick a location that has a lower cost of living. The first consideration is taxes when you retire early. There are currently 9 states without an income tax: Washington, Alaska, South Dakota, Texas, Nevada, that's where I live, Florida, Wyoming, New Hampshire, and Tennessee. These states most likely use other types of taxes to create revenue. However, if you're moving to New Hampshire now, they do tax your interest and dividends, so keep that in mind. It is phasing out interest and dividend tax starting in 2024 and then completely phased out in 2027. So let's say you narrow down to these states that don't require you to pay state income taxes. These states do have higher taxes in other areas to pay for their roads, schools, and any other public infrastructure. Tennessee, for example, has a 9.55 sales tax, which is the highest in any state. And the Washington state imposes a gas tax at 49.4 cents per gallon, which is the highest rate in the nation. Texas and New Hampshire have one of the highest property tax rates, but New Hampshire doesn't have a sales tax, and Texas exempts non-prescription drugs from sales taxes. The next consideration is the cost of living. A low cost of living and housing costs are probably the most critical considerations when you calculate how much you're looking to spend each year in early retirement. Recent CPI data showing 7.5% inflation might scare you a little bit, but you can still compare the cost of living index state by state. Besides housing, other expenses you want to consider are utilities, transportation, and groceries. These are your baseline expenses when you're retired. States with the lowest cost of living are Mississippi, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Kansas, and Missouri, respectively. States with the highest cost of living are Hawaii, Washington, D.C., California, Oregon, and New York. Looking at the states with no state income taxes, Tennessee was number 6 on the lowest cost of living category, and surprisingly, Alaska is ranked number 6 highest in the cost of living index. I wouldn't personally just pick the state based on this index. If you want to live in a smaller town in Tennessee, then your cost of living might be a lot lower than living in a major city like Memphis or Nashville. A lot of retirees like to live outside of the major city, so buying a house maybe 45 minutes away from Nashville might be cheaper than living inside Nashville, right? By the way, if you want our free fire resources, visit us at firesidechat.com/contact. Speaking of houses, a lot of early retirees who choose to relocate don't typically buy homes right away unless they know the area really well. I think right now people feel like they're gonna lose more money from renting than buying a house. I would recommend that you drive or fly to these towns or cities and get Airbnb for a while. I've read some Reddit posts that people buy a camper and drive around the entire country to choose a retirement location. According to the National Association of Realtors, they listed the following 10 hottest housing markets in the US, including the major cities and the surrounding towns and suburbs. These hot markets are in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, Fairhope, Farley, Alabama, Springdale, Rogers in Arkansas and Missouri, Huntsville, Alabama, Knoxville, Tennessee, Palm Bay in Pensacola, Florida, San Antonio, Texas, Spartanburg, South Carolina, and Tucson, Arizona. Knoxville, Tennessee had the most affordable home prices, with median value of property coming in at $229,000. Here are some other considerations when you're researching for a place to retire. Look at the place's quality of life and local attractions. I live in the Las Vegas area, but I don't live anywhere near where all the tourist attractions are, and I live like 30 minutes away from the strip, so it's not loud or anything like that. You might want to consider what your commutes are going to be like. So, do you prefer to live in an area where driving a car to places is a necessity, or do you prefer to ride your bike or walk in the big city? If you're more of an outdoorsy person, then you might want to live in an area with more outdoor activities. As you get older though, you might need to find a place where there's healthcare providers or hospitals that can give you the specific care. You should also research the climate wherever you're looking to relocate. In Vegas, it could get up to about 115 degrees in July and August. It can be excruciatingly hot and dry. If you live in Dallas or San Antonio, Texas, it's like 105 degrees, but it's also extremely humid, so it almost feels like 115 degrees. According to The Hill, Hawaii, California, and Florida have the best climate. They're also not the cheapest places to live because of that. If you don't mind the rain, then maybe consider Seattle. If you don't mind the humidity, then I hear Tampa, Florida, and Atlanta, Georgia are great choices. I've been to Tampa, and that is a great city. If you're on lean fire and you want to live in a place where it's more rural and requires a lower cost of living, then here are the top 100 US towns with fewer than 10,000 residents. I will post this link in the description below. You don't necessarily have to live in a small town if you're on lean fire. It just means that you don't have a lot more money to spend with lean fire. I have a small town in mind, and I will share that towards the end of this video. So where do we want to live when we retire early? We have several options based on where we have visited. We will most likely make Vegas our home base. The weather is really nice between March and May, October and November. It gets way too hot from June to September, and it gets really cold in December and February. There's no state income tax in the state of Nevada, and the cost of living isn't so bad. Between January and February, we would love to stay in Hawaii. I personally loved the Big Island because it was way quieter than Oahu. The weather there was just perfect. The only downside was the cost of living, and it's not cheap to live anywhere in Hawaii. My wife wants to live in all those places in Colorado. I also found a gem in this little town called White Salmon, Washington, with a population of 2,500 people. It's in the Columbia River Gorge. Right across the bridge, it's Oregon, and Washington State doesn't have income tax, and Oregon doesn't have sales tax. But forget all these taxes for a second and take a look at some of these pictures. We went there several years ago for my friend's wedding. The view there was absolutely gorgeous. If I want some peace and quiet, then that's a great place to retire early. So what we want to do is to have different properties in Vegas and Hawaii so we can live in different locations based on the weather and seasons. We also want to be mortgage free and possibly rent out the places in Hawaii when we're not there. This is still years out, but that's kind of our plan. This is why we want to travel to different places every year so we can continue to explore our options. Our goal is Fat Fire with $2.8 million, but that's just our financial independence number. When we're ready to retire, our net worth should be well over $3 million. Deciding where to retire might take years, but we have plenty of time to travel and explore new places. So with that said, I appreciate you watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.